Part 99. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 981. You want to take action. Do you think you can kill this Yaoxin? Xiao Xian on one side. After seeing Qing Lingyun's expression, he also asked with a smile. After hearing this, Qing Lingyun's face froze for a while, even though she had reached the third level of the Blue God realm. But I want to be among the guards of the pharmacists. Kill their young master. It's still a bit difficult. However, seeing Yao Xian being so arrogant made her feel very uncomfortable, and she wished she could fight Yao Xian directly now. But she knew better. If you directly fall out with the Yao family today, it means that you have rejected the Yao family's treatment of Menji Sword Immortal. Her master might really be in danger. Think of this. Qing Lingyun still held back the anger in her heart. Master, are we just going to let them go? Qing Lingyun came to Menji Sword Immortal with anger on her face. Menji Sword Immortal still looked calm. It's like saying something so normal. Xiao Xian also observed carefully, and he found that although Menji Sword Immortal had a beautiful face, there was a sickly paleness on his face. The aura on his body is not as strong as that of Mu Lao worship. Instead, there was a vague feeling of weakness. Come to think of it, this should be the reason why the ice-cold energy in the body was not expelled after being bitten by the ice soul python. For such a situation, Xiao Xian also knew that it was not an easy task to treat her at this moment. But, do you really want to marry him, master? Qing Lingyun felt like her heart was bleeding. In her heart, the master is gentle and kind, and treats her like a family member. Even if she dies, she does not want to see her master marry such a person. Will not. Menji Sword Immortal smiled. Hearing this, the disciples of Lingyun sect breathed a sigh of relief. But at the same time, their hearts tightened slightly. They understood that although the medicine family had bad moral character, their family was indeed good at medical treatment and had many doctors. They are the most likely and capable of treating Menji Sword Immortal. If Menji Jianxian refuses, then she would have to find someone who could heal her wounds. This is undoubtedly very difficult. Master, don't worry, I've also found a doctor for you. Maybe he can heal your injury, Qing Lingyun said suddenly. You mean? This person is a one-star person in the Blue God realm. Qing Menjiun frowned, glanced at Xiao Xian, and couldn't help but said, can he do it? This time, the eyes of the disciples of Lingyun sect were also focused on Xiao Xian. Regarding these questioning glances, Xiao Xian was not surprised. He had met a lot of people in such a long time. There are too many people who look down on him. But in the end, without exception, they all slapped themselves in the face, and some even lost their lives due to bad luck. Your Lingyun sect is really interesting. Could it be that you think that a doctor with one star in the Blue God realm can cure your master's injuries? After seeing Xiao Xian, Yaoxin's face looked a little ugly. He has long coveted the beauty of Menji Sword Immortal. Although, as the young master of the Yao family, there seems to be a gap in seniority between him and the master of the sect like Menji Sword Immortal. But I don't know why. Whenever Yao Xian sees Menji Jiangxian's beautiful face, she will feel an inexplicable impulse in her heart. I want to bring this beauty into my harem. This time, hearing that Menji Sword Immortal was injured, Yao Xian came here in a hurry, hoping to threaten the former, in order to achieve his lustful purpose. Just didn't expect it. Now, a guy like Xiao Xian would appear? A mere one star in the Kangshen realm. How dare you pretend to be a doctor so brazenly? Or even want to rob the pharmacist's business? Isn't this just asking for death? What is this guy's background? Yao Xian asked a guard beside him. I've never heard of this. In Wanglong City, as long as there are some famous doctors, it's impossible for us pharmacists to know that there are almost none who are 1-star in the blue god realm. The guard was stunned. Waste. Why don't you go investigate? Yao Xian was a little annoyed. I don't allow anyone to get ahead of me on the ground in Wanglong City. Got scolded. The Yao family's guards also had nervous expressions on their faces. He understood that this guy Yao Xian looked gentle, but he was actually a cold and snowy animal worthy of the name. As long as it's something he likes. Get it by any means necessary. Especially the beautiful women in Wanglong City, even the saints in some sections, as long as he likes them, he will use the reputation of the Yao family to catch them and play with them. Such a thing. In Wanglong City, it is almost no secret. Especially Yaoxin, whose expression was even more gloomy and terrifying. Menji Sword Immortal actually refused directly. Menji Sword Immortal glanced at Yaoxin and issued an order to expel the guest rudely. I will not accept Yao's conditions. As long as Menji Sword Fairy wants to understand, he will agree to him in the end. In this case, he really has to find a way to get this heaven-level Taoist fragment. I won't worry about this for you, Yao family, Menji Sword Immortal said directly. Is it possible that this stupid woman really thinks that this 1-star blue god realm can heal his wounds? Did not expect. Yao Xian also turned around and left. But his greedy look actually didn't get Menji Sword Immortal's attention at all. Instead, he was just ignored. After all, being able to cultivate to the level of the little golden god, Menji Sword Immortal must not be a fool, and he will most likely agree in the end to save his life. Mr. Yao, are you still not leaving? However, before he turned around, he glanced at Xiao Xian with sinister eyes and remembered him. Although Menji Sword Immortal had not agreed to his conditions before, he still had some expectations in his heart. But it also completely ignited the fire of jealousy in his heart. Since your Lingyuan sect is so courageous, don't regret it in the end. Yao Xian's face turned pale with anger. Speaking of which, Yaoxin still doesn't want to give up. Now in front of so many people. The faces of the Yao family members changed instantly. He actually offended a medicine man inexplicably. He originally thought that this was just a simple treatment. Who knows? Say it. The guard was a little annoyed when he saw Yao Xian, and cold sweat broke out on his back. He thinks. Let's go. At this time. Instead, Xiao Xian was speechless for a while. Think of this. This time. Yao Xian couldn't help but look at Menji Sword Immortal with strange eyes. If there is a chance to get the remaining scrolls of heaven-level Taoism, it is naturally the best choice. Even if he can't get it, it is considered that he is not good enough. Sword Immortal Menji, don't you trust our medicine family, but are you willing to trust such an inexplicable person? Such disregard. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 982. Let's go. After remembering Xiao Xian's appearance, Yaoxin didn't say anything more. He turned around and left. Among Lingyuan sect. Facing Xiao Xian, Sword Immortal Menji still looked calm, but a cold power still emanated from her from time to time. Xiao Xian could tell. At this moment, she was still barely able to control the cold power in her body, otherwise, her current situation would be even worse. Sword Immortal Menji, can you let me see the condition of the wound? In front of a stone platform, Xiao Xian stood next to Qing Lingyuan and asked tentatively, I heard that the cold power of the Eye Soul Python's body is extremely powerful. If you suppress it forcibly, I'm afraid it will damage the meridians. Good. This Eye Soul Python has reached 100 years old, and the cold power in its body is extremely powerful. Qing Lingyuan added, that is to say, the master used the sword's Gangfeng to protect his heart before the battle, otherwise. Don't wait for Qing Lingyuan to finish. Menji Sword Immortal interrupted her, there is no need to talk about the past. The failure of this hunting was due to our own lack of strength. We cannot blame others. Qing Menjiun instead added, Master, you can't say that. We feel that this time we must have fallen into someone else's trap. It seems that someone is specifically targeting our Lingyuan section. Who do you think it is? Menji Sword Immortal asked directly. At this moment, Qing Menjiun and Qing Lingyuan looked at each other and became a little silent. Instead, it was Xiao Xian who said, if my prediction is correct, this trap may have been set by the Yao family. Say it. Everyone in Lingyuan sect looked solemn. Although they also despise the Yao family's methods, if they really want to fall out with the Yao family, they probably still have to think about it. Do you know the strength of the Yao family? Sword Immortal Menji turned back and glanced at Xiao Xian. No matter what his strength is. If you do such a disgusting thing, you don't deserve respect. Xiao Xian shook his head. In the mysterious world. Although there is no shortage of doctors, alchemists in the world, the reason why they are willing to treat others is still for themselves. But this shameless method by the pharmacist really brings shame to the doctors all over the world. More importantly, this medicine family also claims to be the largest family of doctors in Wanglong City. Wouldn't this act be an embarrassment to all the doctors in the world? Although Xiao Xian was not a doctor originally. But after getting the 10,000 gold prescription, he could be regarded as inheriting the medical skill inheritance of old man Tianyan. With this ability, naturally, we must bear corresponding responsibilities. At this moment, seeing a shameless doctor like Yao Qia, he was naturally filled with anger and dissatisfaction. Are you also a doctor? Sword Immortal Menji lightly opened her lips and asked Xiao Xian. Yes, I know a little bit about medical skills. Xiao Xian nodded slightly and continued, I also have some confidence that I can treat your wounds. You, Qing Menjiun frowned. Xiao Xian, are you really sure? That's great. Qing Lingyuan suddenly had a smile on his face and quickly took his arm. If I'm right, you are only 1 star in the Blue God realm now. With such strength, can he also become a doctor? Menji Sword Immortal was relatively calm. In fact, Xiao Xian understood that after reaching the level of Menji Sword Immortal, it was reasonable to have some doubts about him. But if you really want to talk about it? Although Xiao Xian's realm on the surface is not very high. But if it comes to fighting against others, no one below 3 stars in the Kangshen realm will be his opponent without special means. Even if it is 5 stars in the Blue God realm. It's not like he doesn't have the strength to fight. In terms of medical treatment, he is definitely considered a top doctor as he possesses a wealth of prescriptions. Treat the wounds of some ice soul pythons. It's not impossible. Yes, master. But Xiao Xian's strength has reached above 3 stars in the Kangshen realm, you can completely trust him. Qing Lingyuan said quickly. Say it. In Lingyuan sect, some disciples also had a little doubt on their faces, looking at her in disbelief. The gap between 1 star in the Kang God realm and 3 stars in the Kang God realm. Not to mention a world of difference, there is definitely a gap. A practitioner. If there is no absolute secret technique or secret treasure, it is absolutely impossible to defeat the 3 stars of the Blue God realm with the strength of 1 star of the Blue God realm. This is simply nonsense. But for Qing Lingyuan, people from Lingyuan sect are still relatively trusting. The fact that she could say such things at least shows that Xiao Xian is definitely not an ordinary person. Good. Then there is Mr. Lao Xiao. The beautiful Sword Immortal Menji wrinkled slightly, but finally opened her red lips and said, if you can heal my wounds, I will offer you heaven-level Taoism. The words are so straightforward. Even Xiao Xian himself looked a little embarrassed. But really speaking, the reason why he agreed to Qing Lingyuan and took the initiative to come to Lingyuan sect was because he had a good impression of the latter. Moreover, this person must also know the golden prescription. Being bitten is just an injury. Judging from Menji Sword Fairy's expression, she has obviously mastered this half-volume swordsmanship, and she should have benefited a lot from it. Think of this. I'll do my best. Xiao Xian naturally became excited. Menji Sword Immortal said, although it is only half a volume, if you can practice it, your strength will be further improved. What's more, silver needle crossing acupoints, drug assistance, pure yang exercises. In other words, Menji Sword Immortal is a powerful person in the little golden god realm. This is half a volume of swordsmanship that I accidentally obtained from the deep green pool. It is said that it was created by the old man Tian Kong, a strong man in the ancient golden god realm. It is extremely mysterious and unparalleled in power. Xiao Xian nodded. By that time, the daylilies were cold. All of these methods can be done. But after revisiting it a little bit, Tian Kong's swordsmanship, I'm afraid that I won't agree to this kind of treatment. As for drug assistance, the effects are a bit slow, taking at least half a year to a year. He also knew very well that the Ice Soul Python, as a third-grade monster, had extremely strong cold poison. After hearing this, know how pure Yang Kung Fu works. Now, I'm afraid he would have died a long time ago. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian found that he seemed to be the best candidate. This is the key point. If you really want to talk about it, heaven-level Taoism is generally created by powerful people above the golden god level. It is true that he came here for half a volume of heaven-level Taoism. Good. If it were a weaker person. In the end, there was only one way to find someone who practiced pure yang skills and use pure yang skills to expel the cold toxins from Menji Sword Immortal's body. Even if there is only half a roll left. Xiao Xian did not dare to neglect, silently recalling some of the ways to remove the poison of coldness from the 10,000 gold prescriptions. If he could understand the swordsmanship in it, it would be of great help to him. Xiao Xian also discovered that silver needle crossing acupoints requires multiple acupunctures, and the acupuncture must be performed directly on the patient. Look at the arrogant look of Menji Sword Immortal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 983. Perhaps. Later, I can use pure Yang Kung Fu to help you get rid of the yin and cold toxins in your body. Xiao Xian said. Say it. Instead, it attracted the attention of everyone in Lingyun sect. They all looked at Xiao Xian with strange eyes, with some doubts on their faces. Pure yang exercises restrain the poison of yin and cold. This is just common sense, and basically some practitioners will know the truth behind it. When Menji Sword Fairy was injured, they also thought about finding some practitioners who practiced pure yang techniques to help resolve the yin-cold poison in her body. However, there are very few practitioners who practice the pure yang technique, and there are even fewer people who can reach the level of the little golden god by practicing the pure yang technique. Therefore it is extremely difficult to find. Who knows? Now, Xiao Xian actually offered to help remove the cold poison from Menji Sword Immortal? Is this a little too confident? Just 1 star in the blue god realm. Why can he do this? I wonder if Menji Sword Immortal would like to give it a try, Xiao Xian asked directly with great confidence. Since it's the doctor invited by Ling Yun, I'll give it a try. Although Menji Sword Immortal was a little hesitant. However, seeing Xiao Xian's confident look, she felt inexplicably that this thing in front of her could really heal her. Menji Sword Immortal, the sect leader, said so. The female disciples of Lingyun sect also looked at each other in confusion, and they could only hope that Xiao Xian really had some means to heal their sect's injuries. To others, Maybe he doesn't have that much trust in Xiaoxian. However, it was different for Qing Lingyun. She knew what kind of person Xiaoxian was. After asking the other female disciples to leave the stone platform, Xiaoxian began to slowly operate the pure yang sword art on his body. The magical skills are slowly operating. In this secret room, warm pure yang aura appeared. Under the guidance of Xiaoxian, these auras slowly surrounded Menji Sword Immortal. Now, under the warmth of these pure yang exercises, Menji Sword Immortal also felt that the cold toxins in her body were somewhat suppressed, and the painful muscles and bones also became more relaxed. This made her beautiful eyebrows stretch slightly. I couldn't help but look at Xiaoxian with admiration. She was also a little surprised. She never expected that Xiaoxian would have this ability to help her relieve the pain in her body. Seeing Menji Sword Fairy's expression, Xiaoxian also understood that it was probably the pure yang technique in him that played a role, so his expression became more and more serious. According to the introduction of Wanjin prescription, if you want to treat the bite of the eye soul python, you need to use pure yang techniques to expel all the cold and cold poison from the injured person's body. At the same time, it is more necessary to use warming yang elixirs as assistance. Xiaoxian also took out a red pill and handed it to Menji Sword Immortal. This pure yang pill can temporarily increase the yang qi. It can be used with my pure yang sword art to drive away the coldness in your body poison. See the red pure yang dan. Menji Sword Immortal was stunned for a moment, and then took it. The swordsmanship she practices is also biased towards the swordsmanship of the Yin Han lineage. She didn't know if taking this pure yang elixir would damage her original Yin Han swordsmanship. What's wrong? Seeing Menji Sword Immortal's hesitation, Xiaoxian asked doubtfully. Nothing. Thank you very much. Menji Sword Immortal swallowed the pure yang pill in one gulp without saying anything. The pure yang elixir enters the body. A stream of pure yang energy was instantly released from the body of Menji Sword Immortal. Under the warmth of these energies, Sword Immortal Menji felt that her whole body seemed to be bathed in sunlight, and the pain caused by the cold poison began to slowly ease. At the same time, Xiaoxian was also running the pure yang technique on his body. It began to slowly invade Menji Jiangxian's body. Help her expel the cold poison. With internal and external cooperation, Xiaoxian also quickly discovered that there were indeed 2 fine tooth marks on the snow-white arm of Menji Sword Immortal. Obviously, this should be the place where she was attacked by the eye soul python. And in this place, the poison of coldness is also particularly strong. Faced with the cold poison of the 3rd-grade monster, Xiaoxian did not dare to neglect, and the pure yang technique turned into a small golden snake, and began to attack the poisonous gas gradually and tentatively. Who knows? These cold poisons were far more powerful than he imagined. As soon as he touched it, he encountered a desperate resistance from these cold poisons. Like a poisonous snake that has invaded its territory, he showed his fierce fangs towards Xiaoxian. Hear this. Xiaoxian directly interrupted Menji Sword Immortal's words. The matter has not reached the point where it cannot be resolved. But just rely on these powers. The treatment process just now. Magic circle. Some of the pure yang techniques used by Xiaoxian did temporarily alleviate the cold and yin poison in her body. Another failure. Neither can be evicted. He can think of. In this regard, Xiaoxian also frowned slightly. Do not give up. It must not be easy to get rid of this cold power, but in the end he didn't expect this thing to be so strong. This stubborn cold power seemed to be engraved in the bone marrow of Menji Sword Immortal. Not only does it harm the injured person's body, you don't need it. The poison of yin and cold is extremely strong. If you forcefully generate the pure yang qi in your body, you are likely to suffer backlash. Menji Sword Immortal shook his head and was about to push Xiaoxian away. No matter how hard Xiaoxian used it, it even had the power to corrode his body, which really surprised him. No. Thank you very much. It's not easy for you to achieve the step sword. Immortal Menji could also feel the power of cold poison in her body and sighed. On the contrary, this cold power also has the intention of corroding the body of Menji Sword Immortal, as if he wants to take the original cold power of the latter into his own. But now look at Xiao Xian's appearance. Say it. Menji Sword Immortal could not help but frown. Xiao Xian secretly sighed, but he refused to admit defeat and quickly used the pure yang technique on his body again to attack the cold poison. I have a technique that can condense a magic circle in your body, and use the power of the magic circle to destroy the poison of coldness. Humph, this cold poison is really not weak. He seems to still be very confident about this matter. He looked at Xiao Xian with some confusion in his eyes, not understanding what he said. She could see it clearly too. Hearing this decisive tone, Menji Sword Immortal next to him frowned slightly. Xiao Xian shook his head and said directly, maybe I can't expel this cold poison. She didn't expect that Xiao Xian, a one-star Blue God Realm doctor, could actually say the word magic circle. It is basically impossible for ordinary people to get rid of the cold poison in her body. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 984. Can you set up a magic circle? Menji Sword Immortal couldn't help but be confused. As a strong person in the realm of Little Golden God, she naturally knows what kind of existence the magic circle is. If the array is properly arranged, it can increase the effect of cultivation, greatly improve combat effectiveness, improve the effectiveness of elixirs, and even increase the success rate of weapon refining. On the Great Dao continent, the status of a high-level magician is not inferior to that of an alchemist or a weapon refiner. But according to her understanding, only when one's cultivation reaches the realm of the Little Golden God and the power of the soul breaks through to the intermediate level of reality, can one become a magic circle master. Now, Xiao Xian actually said that he could set up a magic circle? Is this true? Think of this. Sword Immortal Menji couldn't help but look at Xiao Xian a few more times and asked, to set up the magic circle, the minimum soul required is to reach the middle level of reality. Could it be that, your soul has reached this level? Questions about Menji Sword Fairy. Xiao Xian did not answer directly, but just used the skills on his body a little, and then, a phantom spell was condensed around her. This phantom looks exactly like him. He didn't even notice the breath on his body. At first glance, it looks like a clone of himself. See here. Menji Sword Immortal was also surprised, and at the same time he understood that Xiao Xian's strength had indeed reached the middle level of reality. To this, she really had a little more hope. Could it be said that Xiao Xian could really expel the cold poison from her body? Although before, Menji Sword Immortal looked calm in front of the Yao family and even her own sect disciples. It seemed that the ice python's poison had limited damage to her. But actually, the century-old ice python was extremely poisonous. Every night, the toxin would attack her heart, making her feel that life was worse than death. Over time, it might even make her fall down. But Menji Sword Immortal knows that in Lingyuan sect, she is like the backbone, for the stability of the sect. She had to hold back the pain. Try not to let others see the impact of the ice soul python's poison on her. As for herself, naturally, she also hopes that a doctor can cure the ice python's poison, but she will never agree to the doctor's conditions. Good. Xiao Xian was embarrassed to say it. This is the first time he has placed a magic circle in someone else's body. Actually, after coming to Dao continent, thanks to the system, he really got a lot of magic circles. From the Kingland Spirit Gathering formation before to the Black Hell Demon Killing formation at the back. He has used all these magic circles. However, it was Xiao Xian's first time to set up a magic circle in someone else's body. For this, perhaps most people would feel a little guilty. After all, Menji Sword Immortal is a strong person in the little golden god realm. The power of the soul of such a character is definitely not weak. If you are not careful, danger may occur. If you want to forcibly remove this cold force, in addition to having rich experience in setting up magic circles, you also need to have enough strength to resist the backlash of her soul. This is by no means as simple as words. The spirit of reality. Last but not least, the doctor's strength must reach 7 or 8 stars in the blue god realm. Such doctors are not easy to find. Did not expect. I actually faced one today. Regarding this, Menji Sword Immortal couldn't help but look at Xiao Xian with admiration. As for the other side, she really wanted to see if Xiao Xian had this ability. There was really a magic circle in her body to expel the cold poison. Now, Xiao Xian was doing two things at once. The main body circulates the pure yang dharma, and the dharma phase circulates the seven-color breath. With the cooperation of the two, they began to arrange a divine soul array specifically designed to target the cold poison in Menji Sword Immortal's body. This magic circle was learned from 10,000 gold prescriptions. It's called Suohan formation. Relying on the blood as the network, the meridians as the meridians, and the heavenly flames as the force, it is a formation specifically designed to target the poison of yin and cold. However, Xiao Xian did not practice the way of heavenly flame. That's why pure yang kung fu was used instead. At this point, Xiao Xian thought there was no problem. After all, this pure yang sword technique was also learned from Gong Sun Hea. As the number one swordsman on the eastern wasteland, Gong Sun Hea's swordsmanship knowledge is probably not much weaker than that of old man Tianyan, so there may not be any problem in using it as a substitute for strength. Not to mention, for so long, his understanding of the way of swordsmanship is also getting deeper and deeper. If you can combine swordsmanship with medical skills, you might have unexpected magical effects. Therefore, Xiao Xian also tried to integrate the two, and concentrated on arranging them in Menji Sword Immortal's meridians. Now, Menji Sword Immortal was also increasingly shocked. She discovered that under Xiao Xian's arrangement, the meridians that had been eroded by the cold poison began to slowly recover. What shocked her even more was, he discovered that Xiao Xian's pure yang kung fu not only contained the restorative power of a doctor, but also the fierce aura of a swordsman inheritor. As a swordsman, she felt this very deeply. Could it be said that Xiao Xian was originally a sword cultivator? But seeing Xiao Xian's serious look at this moment, Menji Sword Immortal did not disturb him, but looked at him silently, wanting to see what step he could take. The power of the magic circle comes from the pure yang technique in Xiao Xian's body. As long as Xiao Xian continues to operate, this warm power will continuously attack the cold poison. Instead, these cold poisons began to be continuously refined under the restrictions of the magic circle. As time flows, Menji Sword Immortal was surprised to find that the cold poison in her body gradually became weaker, moisturized by the power of warm yang. She also had a sense of rejuvenation. This, actually has an effect. Although Menji Sword Fairy had a cold personality, she couldn't help but get excited when she felt the changes in her body. This means, the cold poison in her body is slowly being expelled. More than an hour later, Xiao Xian's forehead was already covered with sweat, and his whole body was wet, as if he had been fished out of water. After a large amount of soul power was consumed, his face was also slightly pale. After rubbing his aching temples, Xiao Xian swallowed a pill and slowly recovered the power of his soul that he had just consumed. Just some treatment. He discovered that being a doctor was not necessarily an easy task. Not only did he need to be proficient in medical skills, but he also had to use a strong spirit of martial arts. All three are indispensable. If you can do these three things, you may be able to become a truly good doctor. Thank you very much. I didn't expect you to have such ability. I underestimated you before. Menji Sword Immortal also had a bit of guilt on his face. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 985. It doesn't have to be this way. Xiao Xian shook his head. Everyone gets what they need. I just promised Qing Lingyun that I would do my best. Menji Sword Immortal was stunned. Then, he also looked at Xiao Xian with relief. You know, she is a strong person in the realm of the little golden god, and she still has some say in Wanlong City. Moreover, Lingyun sect can be regarded as an ancient sect. Even if it is not as good as when it was at its peak now, 5 or 6 Kangshen realm Dzogchen can still be achieved. Plus she is such a beautiful swordsman. As long as people know her. In some matters, he would give her some face, just like a pharmacist. Who knows now? How could Xiao Xian, a one-star Kangshen realm, be so arrogant? If he hadn't seen his realm, Sword Immortal Menji would have thought that he was also a strong man in the little golden god realm. Good. The half-volume Tiankong sword technique is this thing. Menji Sword Immortal was very straightforward. She took out a jade slip directly from the space magic weapon and handed it to Xiao Xian. You have half a month to understand it. After half a month, it will automatically dissipate. Thank you. Half a month is enough. Xiao Xian nodded. Recently, apart from the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce auction, he has nothing else to do. The mining of the purple spirit mine should not require his help. Let him have enough time to understand this so-called Tiankong sword technique. After hearing Xiao Xian's confident words, Menji Sword Immortal couldn't help but be surprised. Heaven-level swordsmanship is still a swordsmanship that only exists in half a volume. It is undoubtedly very difficult for ordinary practitioners to master it. Generally speaking, only cultivators above the Golden God realm are qualified to understand heaven-level Taoism. Even she herself has not fully understood this half-volume heavenly sword art. Why can Xiao Xian be so confident? Is it possible that you really think you are the proud one of heaven? And actually, on the Great Dao continent, and even in the East Wasteland giant continent in Wanlong City, there is never a shortage of highly talented practitioners. But most of these cultivators ended up stuck in the Blue God realm, unable to enter the Golden God realm. Young Master Xiao Xian, please take a break. I'll ask my servants to prepare a banquet as a way of thanking you, Menji Sword Immortal said. Good. Just had some treatment. It is a huge drain on both the body and the soul. At this time, even if he wanted to leave, he couldn't. Simply. He leaned on the stone platform and fell into a deep sleep. Dimly, he just felt a little cold, and there was a pleasant aroma in his nose. He simply covered himself casually. Wait until Menji Sword Fairy comes back. Seeing the scene on the stone platform, her pretty face immediately turned red. It turns out that the ice swordsmanship she practiced required resting in a cold place to hone her body's cold ability. This stone platform looks simple. In fact, it is also a treasure with a breath of ice. For Menji Sword Immortal, this is a cultivation treasure, but for ordinary people, it is a bit cold. Originally, she just wanted her disciples to prepare a guest room for Xiao Xian. Who knew, Xiao Xian actually fell asleep here. The key is, in this place, there are also some clothes and bedding that Menji Jianxian usually used when he slept. Now it is used by Xiao Xian. Isn't this equivalent to an intimate skin-to-skin contact between two people? Menji Sword Fairy, as a pure female sword fairy, has never had such close contact with any man. At this moment, I saw Xiao Xian's appearance. There was also a feeling of embarrassment in my heart. In the end, I could only bite the bullet and leave, hoping to make other arrangements after Xiao Xian woke up. Outside, when he saw Menji Sword Fairy with a rosy face coming out, A group of female disciples from the Lingyun sect also gathered around her and asked her about her situation with concern. When I heard Menji Sword Immortal say that she was fine, all the disciples also breathed a sigh of relief. But then, they were all very curious. They had all seen clearly before that Xiao Xian was a one-star cultivator in the Blue God realm. This is certainly not false. How could such a doctor be so capable of curing the cold poison in Menji Sword Immortal? Could this be a trap? Master, do you really feel well? Is there any problem here? Qing Menjiun couldn't help but ask. Probably not. I trust Xiao Xian very much. A signal that Wanlong City is in chaos. Didn't you say that there are only female disciples in our sect? Only female disciples are accepted. Qing Lingyun said, it is precisely because of him that Wanjin merchant gained control of the Ziki spirit mine. Then, she continued to explain, according to my master's rules, Lingyun sect does only recruit female disciples, but the situation is different now. After the spiritual energy is revived, the strength of each sect has been greatly enhanced. Qing Lingyun was also stunned, looking at Menji Sword Immortal with doubtful eyes, a little confused. Say it. At the same time, Menji Sword Immortal also nodded, this Xiao Xian is indeed very capable. Although he is only one star in the Kangshen realm, his medical skills are also extremely good. He can be regarded as a rare genius. Ling Yun, how did you meet him? Say it. This time, I feel that the appearance of the purple spirit mine may be a signal. Menji Sword Immortal said. City Lord's Mansion and Qinglei Palace, these two sects are considered to be the two largest sects in Wanlong City. Originally, I accepted a mission from Elder Long Quan to help them fight for the purple spirit mine. In response, Menji Sword Immortal also nodded. We, Lingyun sect, cannot sit still and wait for death. All the disciples also had some respect for Xiao Xian. To know. This means. But listening to Qing Lingyun's words, even they were defeated by Xiao Xian. As expected of a disciple of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Their elite disciples cannot be weak. Moreover, they only accept female disciples with high talents. Master. It's at Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Figure this out. He is indeed a very talented person. If possible, I would even like to recruit him into our section. What happened to Menji Unsien today? Why did you suddenly change your mind? The people next to him were stunned. In addition to his excellent medical skills, this Xiao Xian is also not weak in combat ability. Isn't this a bit strange? Some people present also had somewhat surprised expressions on their faces. In the Lingyun sect, from the sect master to the disciples, all are women. This is also the rule of their sect. In the competition, he defeated the elite disciples from the City Lord's Palace and Qinglei Palace alone. So, he is really a genius boy. After hearing what the senior sister said, Qing Lingyun was full of confidence. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 986. Confusion. Could it be that the revival of spiritual energy will bring such a crisis? The appearance of the purple spirit mine is indeed a bit sudden. We must also work hard to become stronger. Menji Sword Immortal's words came out. Within Lingyun sect, a group of female disciples also started talking about it. In this regard, Menji Sword Immortal was really interested in Xiao Xian. Although she is not very old, she can be regarded as a veteran and powerful person in Wanlong City. She had a good reputation in Wanlong City a few years ago. Now, after seeing Xiao Xian's talent, she really wanted to accept a disciple. Of course, this is also under the premise that Xiao Xian is willing. The other side. I don't know how long I slept. When he opened his eyes again, Xiao Xian saw the fragrant clothes in his hands, and his face turned slightly red. He quickly and carefully hid this thing. Then he walked out of the stone platform carefully. Turned his head. Only then did he see Sword Immortal Menji and a group of disciples waiting for him in the distance, as if they had something to say. I have kept you waiting for so long. Xiao Xian was a little embarrassed. It doesn't matter. Young Master Xiao Xian saved my master, and he is considered a benefactor in our section. If necessary in the future, our Lingyuan sect will do our best. Qing Lingyuan said with gratitude. Thank you. Xiao Xian nodded. Many friends, many paths. Lingyuan sect is also considered a not weak sect in Wanglong City. For such an existence. Although Xiao Xian didn't deliberately make friends with them, he didn't despise them either. Thinking of this, he also politely agreed. Ling Yun, host a banquet to entertain young Master Xiao Xian as a token of our gratitude from Ling Yun section. Menji Sword Immortal said. That's not necessary. The time is tight in half a month. I want to understand this Tiankong Jian as soon as possible. Xiao Xian decisively refused. He also knew that with the revival of spiritual energy, various sects in Wanglong City would also be ready to take action. In the fight for the Purple Spirit Mine, he defeated Mu Shaokong and Xue Qinglin and already made a lot of limelight. Come to think of it, he should have become a thorn in the side of the City Lord's mansion and Qinglai Palace now. Maybe when someone will cause trouble for him. What he has to do now is to seize the time to improve his strength and try to understand the Tiankong sword as soon as possible. As for the banquet, he really wasn't that interested. One more thing. I wonder where young Master Xiao Xian came from. Is he from Wanglong City? Menji Sword Immortal asked tentatively. If Mr. Xiao is interested, the door of our Lingyuan sect will be open to you. Hear this. Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned. After he came to Lingyuan sect, he had already discovered that all of the huge Lingyuan sect were female disciples. This cannot be a coincidence. Thinking about it, this should also be some of the rules within Lingyuan sect. But why would Menji Sword Immortal take the initiative to recruit him at this time? Isn't this against the rules? Isn't this, against your rules? Xiao Xian asked. I see that there seems to be no men in your sect. Rules are meant to be broken. With your strength, you are indeed qualified to join our section. Qing Lingyuan said directly. Moreover, the former senior brother Lin Xiao is also a disciple of our section. I heard the word Lin Xiao. Xiao Xian also thought of this guy. Speaking of which, this guy has never appeared again since he was defeated, and he doesn't know where he went. Now I heard Qing Lingyuan talking about it. He just remembered that there was such a person. Yes. Where has this Lin Xiao gone? I remember at that time, he was still your senior brother. Xiao Xian asked Qing Lingyuan, could it be that he is the only man in your sect? After he asked this question, Menji Sword Immortal's face was obviously a little embarrassed, and then he continued, actually, he is just a disciple that I accepted. For all this, the disciples of Lingyuan sect were also talking a lot, with resentment on their faces. Turn out to be. Sword Immortal Menji also saw that Lin Xiao had good talent, so she accepted him. Who would have known that he would turn out to be a rebellious person? After being defeated by Xiao Xian, he came directly to the sect and vowed to take revenge on Xiao Xian. Originally, people from the Lingyuan sect could understand this. After all, young people and red-blooded sword cultivators should have a certain spirit. But Lin Xiao asked Menji Sword Fairy to teach him the Tiankong sword. Say it. There was also a gap between the two sects. Being able to cooperate with someone like Xiao Xian is definitely a good thing. Now, after hearing about the conflict between Lingyuan sect and Qinglai Palace, he felt that Lingyuan sect might become a natural ally. At least he won't be alone anymore. Lin Xiao left the sect angrily and took refuge in King Glei Palace. Hear these words. It also spoke to the heart of Menji Sword Immortal. In fact, there was not much conflict between Lingyun sect and King Glei Palace, but after this incident, after being rejected, after telling Xiao Xian these things, for such a baby, there is little possibility of reconciliation. It would be a good thing if he could be accepted as his apprentice. But now, she discovered that Xiao Xian turned out to be a more talented disciple than Lin Xiao. But now, Xiao Xian also thought secretly. Menji Sword Fairy's face was somewhat embarrassed. That's because Lin Xiao has talent. Menji Sword Immortal was also very angry, which was rare, and directly issued a pursuit order for this disciple who had high hopes for him. In this case, it is a very cost-effective thing to have a good relationship with him. Because of this. Now, if there is the help of Mu Lao from Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and Menji Sword Immortal from Lingyun sect. After all, with his own ability, it would be difficult for him to confront King Glei Palace head-on. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian also said directly, in this case, then we might have a chance to cooperate. This also means that Lingyun sect and King Glei Palace have completely turned against each other. Her face was dull. After passing through the bottom of Tianyan Pond, he knew that he and King Glei Temple were already enemies. Judging from what Xiao Xian meant, it was obvious that it was not so easy to become a disciple. She was not interested in Xiao Xian's current strength, but in Xiao Xian's future development. Therefore, Menji Sword Immortal also looked at Xiao Xian and said proactively, Lingyun sect, you are welcome. After all, Lin Xiao was once considered her apprentice, but in the end he did something to deceive his master and destroy his ancestors. She understands very well. He didn't say much on the surface, but continued, I didn't expect this guy to be so shameless. At that time, the reason why she accepted Lin Xiao was. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 987. I communicated with Menji Sword Fairy about the essence of Tiankong's sword. Xiao Xian also turned and left. Returned to Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Xiao Xian discovered that Zhang Fulong was indeed very efficient. In just a few days, the purple spirit mine had been mined. Carloads of ore filled with spiritual energy were dug out. Sent to the Chamber of Commerce for sale. What's the price of these ores? How much can be mined every day? Xiao Xian stopped a miner and asked. It turns out to be Mr. Xiao. According to the current mining capacity of our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, we can mine about 1 ton of purple spirit ore every day. Each kilogram of purple spirit ore can be sold for about 1,000 Dao stones. The miner saw it was Xiao Xian and said quickly. Hear this. Xiao Xian also nodded secretly. It seems that this purple spirit mine is really a precious place. No wonder Zhang Fulong attaches so much importance to this mine, and even a proud man like Elder Long Quan actively seeks out people like Lin Xiaoqing and Ling Yun. It seems that this effort and gain are still directly proportional. By the way, Mr. Xiao Xian. The young master has said that if you come back, he will ask you to go to the meeting hall and make arrangements for the auction house. At this time, the miner captain saw Xiao Xian and ran over in a hurry. Xiao Xian was also stunned by this. He had heard before that among the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce's business, the auction house was a relatively remarkable entity. Zhang Fulong could be so anxious to find him. It must be no small matter. Xiao Xian did not dare to neglect, and followed the corridor of the Chamber of Commerce to the backyard meeting hall. He didn't notice until he arrived. Inside the meeting hall, several senior officials of the Chamber of Commerce were already sitting down, as well as a few new faces. Even Mu Lao worshipper looked serious. Clearly, something important had happened. After Xiao Xian took the initiative to salute a few familiar senior officials, he casually found a seat and sat down. Actually, According to the status that Malao enshrined to him before, he is now considered the number 2 figure in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, and his status is even higher than Zhang Fulong. Although, for Xiaoxian, it doesn't matter about status or status. But now, with such a position, he also wants to pursue his own affairs in his position, and wants to hear what happened today. It is worth noting. After seeing Xiaoxian appear, some people from the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce also showed relaxed expressions on their faces. Among them are Malao Zonfang and Zhang Fulong. Malao worships. We from the Python gang came today not to provoke, but to discuss cooperation with your Chamber of Commerce. If the Ghost Chamber of Commerce insists on refusing, I'm afraid it will harm the peace. At this time, a skinny young man in black robes stood up and said sadly, I don't know, can Mr. Mu give me Hu Qingdao some face? Hu Qingdao, we know very well who you are. Over the years, your Python gang has been burning, killing, and looting near Wanlong City. You have done all kinds of evil. Isn't it ridiculous that we, the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, are talking about cooperation today? Mu Lao worshipped without saying a word. On the contrary, Zhang Fulong next to him looked indignant. A few years ago, our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce lost 3 disciples in Mang Mountain. Could it be said that you, the Mang gang, don't know about this at all? Zhang Fulong scolded him like this. The skinny young man sneered, young patriarch, you must speak with evidence. What evidence do you have to prove that the disciples lost by your Wanjin Chamber of Commerce were caused by our Python gang? The Mang gang's territory is all in Mangshan. Everyone in Wanlong City knows this. Isn't it obvious? Zhang Fulong gritted his teeth and said, but at that time, you were interested in that batch of gemstones and you thought we didn't know about it. Speaking of which, the faces of the people from the Mang gang and Wanjin Chamber of Commerce were a little ugly. Since there were old grievances, now, with Zhang Fulong saying this, some people naturally looked solemn. For this, Xiaoxian heard some problems. This Hu Qingdao is full of gangsterism. Most likely, this Python gang is not a good gang either. At this moment they came to Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Presumably, they also want to get a share of the purple spirit mine. But what made him curious was, just now, he clearly saw that this Hu Qingdao was an 8th star Blue God Realm guy, and he was not very strong. Even if there are a few guards around him. Among the guards, there was no one who had reached the realm of the little golden god. Why can he be so presumptuous? Acting recklessly on the territory of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce? Do you really think that the worship of Malao is just a decoration? Tell me the story. What conditions does your Python gang want? Mu Lozong raised his eyes and glanced at Hu Qingdao. If the conditions are right, we might not be able to cooperate. After hearing this, Hu Qingdao's face suddenly showed a look of pride. It is still reasonable for Mu Lao to worship. In this case, I will just say it. I heard that your purple gas or veins produce a lot every day. I guess you have to spend a lot of money to hire miners to mine it, right? It just so happens that our Python gang lacks everything except people. As long as Malao Zone can nod, our Python gang will send people, and your Wanjin merchant will mine, and the mined veins will be divided into 50 and 50. Wouldn't this make everyone happy? 55. Hu Qingdao, you really dare to mention it? Zhang Fulong's face instantly darkened. It is true that the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce needs to hire miners and mine veins, but it is full of resources, and these are not to the point where it requires 50%. At this moment, the conditions of the Python gang are undoubtedly that of the lion. What do you think, Malao Zone? Unexpectedly, Hu Qingdao actually ignored Zhang Fulong and turned around to ask Mu Lao. This time, Zhang Fulong was naturally very angry. Have no idea. Does this 50-50 benefit our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce in any other way? Malozong did not agree or refuse, but continued to look at Hu Qingdao, could it be that your Python gang can protect our purple gas veins? Reaction to Malao's offering. Hu Qingdao was obviously stunned. He didn't expect that Mu Lao Zonfang didn't refuse him, but nodded and said, "Of course, if we cooperate, our Python gang and your Wanjin Chamber of Commerce are cooperative allies, and they will naturally protect your mineral veins." But Mu Lao worshipped such words of weakness. For a time, it also aroused the indignation of the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. To know. Wanjin Chamber of Commerce has Mu Lao to worship and fight with a group of elders. On paper, its strength is much stronger than the Python gang, which is a mixed bag of good and bad. As one of the three strongest forces in Wanglong City, they all looked a little angry when they were threatened by the Python gang so unreasonably. This matter. Xiaoxian, what do you think? Mu Lozong still smiled and finally asked this question to Xiaoxian. Obviously. This is a hot potato. If he answered no, he would anger Hu Qingdao from the Mang gang, but if he answered yes, it would discredit him in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. It can be described as a dilemma. But Xiaoxian understood that there was a reason why Mu Lao worshipped him like this. Even, it is a last resort. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 988. Oh. What? Is there anything in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce that you, Malao Shi, can't do as the master? Hu Qingdao looked around with an unruly look on his face. The reason why he can be so arrogant. It's not that he himself is very powerful, on the contrary, all he relies on is the Python gang behind him. The overall strength of the Mang gang is not as good as those of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and Qinglei Palace. However, the Python gang is better in numbers. From the palace of the city lord of Qinglei Palace to the beggars and craftsmen, these people will more or less have some friendship with the Python gang. Therefore, the Python gang's influence in Wanglong City is not low. If the Python gang is determined to go against Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, it will really be a big trouble for the latter. More importantly, although Hu Qingdao, the leader of the Mang gang, didn't say much, but anyone with a discerning eye can see that this time, the Python gang must be leaning against a big tree. That's why I dare to be so arrogant and seek cooperation with Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. After all, he, Hu Qingdao, is not a fool. It's not like he dared to challenge the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce without the slightest confidence, and even questioned Malao Zonfang face to face. Xiaoxian. Are you Xiaoxian? Hu Qingdao turned around and looked around, and found that everyone's eyes were on a person with a one-star rank in the Blue God realm. He couldn't help but have a smile on his face. 1 star in the Kangshen realm. A person with such strength, even in their Python gang, is not a person with much say. Mu Lao worshipped such a person unexpectedly. It was actually a bit beyond his expectation. You know, Hu Qingdao has been hanging out in the suburbs of Wanglong City for so many years, and he has killed many such people with his sword. At this moment Xiaoxian appeared. There was no threat to him at all. Good. I heard that your gang plans to split the purple spirit or 50-50 with our Chamber of Commerce. I think this condition is a bit too much. Xiaoxian took a look at Mu Lao's offering. Hu Qingdao was directly rejected. In fact, he understands the difficulty of Mu Lao Chong. As the highest ranking person in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, Mu Lao Chong will not only anger Hu Qingdao but also make Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce quarrel with him. The Python gang became enemies. This is for the future of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Definitely not a good thing. But if you don't refuse, I'm afraid it will bring disrepute to Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, and even affect Wanjin Chamber of Commerce's status in Wanglong City. It even caused many sects that coveted the interests of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, it is definitely the best choice for Xiaoxian to come forward. You. Why do you say that? Hu Qingdao looked Xiao Xian up and down, frowned slightly, and said with a bit of impatience on his face, can you make the decision in this matter? Good. As long as I agree, I believe that Malozong will not object. Xiao Xian nodded confidently. Hearing this, a glimmer of light flashed in Hu Qingdao's eyes. Of course he understood that compared to dealing with Mu Laofeng, Xiao Xian, a guy with 1 star in the Blue God realm, was naturally the easier one to deal with. If what Xiao Xian said is true, then, it would be much easier for the Python gang to move into the Ziki spirit mine. After rolling his eyes, he came directly to Xiao Xian, and a kind smile actually appeared on his thin face. This brother. You have lived in the city for a long time, so you don't know the dangers on the outskirts of Wanglong City. Think about it. The Purple Chi Spirit Mine has been born. This is a treasure mine that even the City Lord's Mansion and Qinglei Palace covet. There are countless sects near Wanglong City who are eyeing this piece of fat. We, the Python Gang, are ostensibly helping you mine ore. In fact, we have to bear the responsibility of protecting the safety of the mines. Shouldn't we be compensated for the bloodshed and sacrifices involved? Hu Qingdao looked sincere. Just like the Python gang helped to mine the ore veins, it was also a disadvantage. Listen and listen. Hear these words. Xiao Xian heard some of the problems. Hu Qingdao was the leader of the Mang gang and not the president of the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. How could he know that someone was coveting the Purple Chi Spirit Mine of the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce? This shows that he knows some inside information. Think of this. Xiao Xian's face became a little more curious, and he said directly, from what gang leader who said, it seems that someone in Wanglong City is really paying attention to the Purple Chi Spirit Mine of our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Say it. Hu Qingdao was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Xiao Xian to ask this. At the same time, he also understood that he had just spilled the beans, and his face gradually became gloomy. Master Xiao Xian. Are you trying to trick me? Hu Qingdao's eyes were strange. Only then did he feel that the Xiao Xian in front of him seemed not as simple as he seemed. He said this. At the same time, the implicit meaning is also obvious. In a few words. This sounds like a compliment. Aren't you obviously looking down on the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce? As long as Malao worships him, he can say one word. In addition to being annoyed, Hu Qingshan also felt inexplicably aggrieved. Apparently he has a lot of background. At least, the strength will definitely not be much weaker than the City Lord's Mansion and Qinglei Palace. Isn't this an obvious attempt to humiliate him? For such a situation. But everyone's strength is not weak, at least, not weaker than the few guards around Hu Qingdao. Be bold. Actually want to extract the information he knows. Did you even trick him just now? Hu Qingdao sneered directly and said, Xiao Xian, don't think you are so smart. With your little ability, without the protection of our Python gang, you might end up dead. However, Hu Qingdao is not a fool. For such power. Think of this. Hu Qingdao. I just don't really want to work with them. Hu Qingdao was obviously a little scared. They also knew very well that Wanjin Chamber of Commerce could stand in Wanglong City for so many years. In response, Xiao Xian sneered and said directly, according to Brother Fulong, your gang has done some remarkable things. People like Hu Qingdao would probably die on the spot. Not to mention Hu Qingdao, even the Python gang behind him must be dealt with carefully and not dare to really anger him. Behind Malozong, some members of the elder group were also ready to make a move, and they all cast unkind glances at the Python gang. In his opinion, Xiao Xian is just a guy with 1 star in the Blue God realm. Why should such a person reject him? Everyone in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce suddenly became angry. In any case, Hu Qingdao is from the Mang gang, and Xiao Xian is from the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. It can be said. In this regard, from Xiaoxian's teasing expression, he could also tell that wasn't Xiaoxian clearly mocking him. Moreover, it was not only a mockery of him, but also a mockery of the entire Python gang. Hu Qingdao's naked threat just now. The Wanjin Chamber of Commerce's elders group is small. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 989. Gang leader who? Then open the skylight and speak frankly. Speaking of which, you can be considered the leader of a gang. Do you still have to hide something like this? Mu Lao was very satisfied with Xiaoxian's probing. What he wants? Just to figure out what kind of sect or what kind of person is standing behind this. Now that Xiaoxian has tested it out, he no longer spoke politely. At this moment, he was facing Shang Mulazu and the group of elders behind him. Hu Qingdao does feel like he is riding a tiger but cannot get off. No matter what, he can be regarded as the leader of the Python gang. For such a situation, if he doesn't give a reasonable explanation, I'm afraid he will really be unable to step down. Good. Originally, I didn't want to say it. But since Mu Lao has to ask, I will tell you straight away. Standing behind us are the Green Thunder Palace and the Blood Dragon Gang. Hu Qingdao looked unruly. It was like, what an amazing thing he just said. In response to this, the faces of the people from the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce were a little solemn, although it was not yet known whether he was bluffing. But don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the worst. If the Python gang really has the backing of these two sects, it will definitely be a huge threat to the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Even these two sects probably already know that what the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce has obtained is not a spiritual mine, but a vein of minerals. Hu Qingdao, are you trying to trick me? Qinglai Palace is one of the most powerful sects within the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. How could it possibly collude with you? Mu Lao worshipped directly. Who would have expected? Hearing this, Hu Qingdao smiled instead. Does Mu Lao worship live in ancient times? The purple gas mineral vein is not a mysterious level spiritual treasure. When such a treasure appears, do you think those sects can be honest? Do you really give up? Say it. The people present were in an uproar. According to the legend of Wanglong City, Wanjin Chamber of Commerce only obtained a purple spirit mine. But now, it turns out to be a vein of minerals. The people in the Python gang naturally show greed on their faces. As for the people of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, they were extremely shocked. When they knew the news, they had already blocked the news according to the wishes of the old priest. So, how did this news get out? Unless there is a traitor in their Chamber of Commerce. For a while, the people inside the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce looked at each other and started to doubt the inside. See this. Zhang Fulong's face became more and more serious, and then he smiled softly and asked directly to Hu Qingdao, gang leader Hu, if my prediction is good, these should be your own guesses, right? You haven't come to our mine. How did you know this news? Even if you want to sow discord among us, your choice is a bit too childish. Ha ha ha. Young Master Fulong, there is no need to hide anything. To be honest, this is already an open secret in the entire Wanglong city. Hu Qingdao laughed. Speaking of which, everyone's faces were a little cold. Especially the elders of Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, they all know the importance of this purple spirit mine to them. It can be said, relying on this batch of purple spirit minerals, it is very likely that they will cultivate a large number of real powerhouses in the little golden god realm. But now, the news has leaked out. It will definitely arouse the covetousness and covetment of other sects, and will also bring endless trouble to them. This news. Who did you know this from? Malao Feng's face suddenly changed. Lines of gray-white auras suddenly grew from under the floor of the meeting hall, and thick branches broke through the hard stone slabs on the ground, directly entangling Hu Qingdao and others. Hu Qingdao and others didn't even react. His body was controlled by thick branches. Even if they slashed at it with their swords, they would only leave a shallow white mark on it. The binding skill of the little golden god realm. It can be seen. Malao Zongzong, what do you really mean? Hu Qingdao was a little panicked. Could it be? Does gang leader who think our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce is a place where you can come and leave as you please? Malao Zongfang remained calm-faced. As a person in the realm of the little golden god, he was very aware of the gap between the golden god realm and the blue god realm. At this moment, he wanted to kill these people in the blue god realm, which was just a matter of a thought. Now, Hu Qingdao was also shocked. Who knew that he would fall on Xiaoxian inexplicably? He also understood that perhaps, by taking the initiative to admit his mistake at this time, there might be a glimmer of hope. He also hurriedly begged to Malao, "Old worship, Malao worship, as long as you spare me this time, I will definitely treat you like an ox and a horse." But now, he suddenly realized how childish his idea was to take the initiative to tease a little golden god. Tell me, who is causing trouble for our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, and who is the person hiding inside our Chamber of Commerce? He. Thinking of this. If you want to survive, it seems there is only one way to go. By now. Looking at Malao Feng's gloomy face. Maybe these two sects will take action, but not to avenge him, but to use this to cause trouble and seek the purple spirit mine. This time Hu Qingdao was really a little panicked. Mu Lao worships me, please spare my life. I'm afraid I really have to explain it here. Zhang Fulong's face was cold, he shook his head and said, I really don't know why you, the Mang Gang, are going against our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. He was very nervous. He was only a small role to Qinglai Temple and the Blood Dragon Gang. Gang leader who was arrogant at first but respectful at the end, has just realized the reality now. Isn't it a little late? Xiao Xian asked coldly. Thinking of this, Hu Qingdao's face became a little panicked. Hear this. Our Wanjin Chamber of Commerce has no shortage of cattle and horses, Xiao Xian said bluntly. Malao Zongzong, what do you want? But he never expected that he had worked so hard to curry favor with the Blood Dragon Gang and Qinglai Palace. He originally thought that he would be able to make any terms with the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. After Hu Qingdao recognized the reality. Not even going to actually kill him. Before, he thought he had the reputation of Qinglai Palace and Blood Dragon Gang. Perhaps. Hu Qingdao was also a little panicked. He knew very well that if he didn't come up with a reasonable explanation today, Malao Zongfang should not take things too far. If he died in Wanjin Chamber of Commerce today, after being controlled by the way of Greywood enshrined by Mu Lao, he also felt the murderous intention of Ling Ran in the former. And this Xiao Xian is just a one-star Kang Shen realm. This is all a misunderstanding. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 990. I said. Elder Long Quan told me this. He said that the reason why your Wanjin Chamber of Commerce has a strong man like Mr. Xiao Xian this time is because of this vein of purple gas. Hu Qingdao told everything about how he came into contact with Elder Long Quan and how he contacted the Blood Dragon Gang and Qinglai Palace. Hear these words. Xiao Xian's face became increasingly ugly. He didn't expect that. At that time, a single thought of kindness towards Elder Long Quan actually brought such big trouble to Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. To know. Once upon a time, Elder Long Quan, as the elder of the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, There is a lot of information about chambers of commerce, and it is not easy for ordinary people to know these things. And now, if Elder Longquan betrays the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce and joins the Blood Dragon Gang or even the Green Thunder Palace, it will definitely be a troublesome matter for the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Even, if one day, Elder Longquan secretly harmed Mu Lao, but they didn't know it. Good. I didn't expect it to be Longquan. Mu Lao's face became more and more gloomy, his fists clenched slightly, and Hui Mujideo in the meeting hall suddenly became stunned, obviously really angry. This time, even Xiao Xian was secretly surprised. Looking at him in disbelief. He knew that Mu Lao might have murderous intentions this time. Hu Qingdao and others were also startled, and couldn't help but retreat one after another, looking at the former with pale faces. But now they have no chance to explain. Ashwood like a spear. It instantly penetrated the bodies of the people in the Python gang. Hu Qingdao was directly pierced by a particularly thick gray wood, and scarlet and sticky blood flowed out of his mouth. His eyes widened. He looked at the people in front of him in disbelief. It seems a bit unbelievable that he, a powerful 8-star Kangshen realm, could be killed in an instant. Also secretly shocked was Xiao Xian on the other side. He can tell. When he killed Hu Qingdao and others just now, Malao Zonfeng didn't even use any strength, it seemed like he was just moving his hands. This also made Xiao Xian realize the difference between the Golden God Realm and the Blue God Realm. Once. He also remembered that it was easy for a Kangshen Realm cultivator to kill a Spirit God Realm cultivator. But he didn't expect that Mu Lao, who was in the Little Golden God Realm, could use just one move. A strong man with 8 stars in the Blue God Realm was killed. Dispose of these bodies. Zhang Fulong ordered his subordinates to dispose of the body, and then followed Mu Lao Zonfeng and Xiao Xian to a clean inner court. Although some people from the Python gang were solved. Even Hu Qingdao, the leader of the Python gang, was eliminated. But this does not mean that the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce's troubles are resolved. On the contrary, after killing Hu Qingdao, it means that the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce will face greater troubles. Needless to say, King Glay Palace and Blood Dragon Gang. The Python Gang will never give up. At least, the Python Gang with tens of thousands of people is a big trouble for any sect. Old worshipper, this time. Zhang Fulong was about to say something. But he was interrupted by Mu Lao Zonfeng, who then just waved his hand and asked, "How are you preparing for this auction in Wanlong City?" "It's almost ready. There are some treasures that will appear, and there are also some mysterious people who don't want to appear, but I have seen all their stuff one by one, and they are all good things." Zhang Fulong was stunned and replied, "I think the Python gang has suffered such a big loss and will definitely not give up. Maybe they will take action at the auction." Xiao Xian analyzed. When he said these words, Malao Zong on the side nodded repeatedly. Obviously, Mu Lao worship also recognized his words. "Well, then we need to borrow the group of elders who have been worshipping you. With them here, there shouldn't be much problem at the auction." Zhang Fulong also nodded. "It's not just that simple. Since Long Quan has defected, I think he will also tell others about the Chamber of Commerce. This is not a good thing for the auction." Xiao Xian continued. Hearing this, Zhang Fulong and Mu Lozong also nodded. They also know. But the problem is. Xiao Xian nodded. Blood Wolf Mercenary Group. Otherwise, I recently went to look for the mercenary group in Wanlong City to see if there is a stronger group. Zhang Fulong murmured to himself, there was a pretty strong Blood Wolf mercenary group in the previous period, but later inexplicably, he stopped taking the mission. Elder Long Quan is also a 5-star person in the Blue God realm. Indeed they all knew. I am afraid that the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce will not only be suppressed in the auction venue, but will also suffer a lot in the future battle between the City Lord's Palace and the King Glay Palace. If you can kill Dragon Quan, it will be a good thing. This is a good choice. Long Quan is also a strong man with 5 stars in the Blue God realm. If you want to kill him stably, you should at least be a cultivator with 8 stars or above in the Blue God realm. Is it possible that Xiao Xian can let the Blood Wolf mercenary group take over the mission? That's a bit unlikely, right? I heard that the leader of the Blood Wolf mercenary group is a 5-star Blue God realm. Why can Xiao Xian still say this? The best way, perhaps, is to use a mercenary group. Xiao Xian changed his mind. It doesn't seem that simple. They were all a little confused. Elder Long Quan's betrayal is definitely a big blow and damage to Wanjin Chamber of Commerce. Although there is a Wanjin Chamber of Commerce, Long Quan also knows them. Once they appear, they will definitely arouse his vigilance. Can you assassinate him? After he said this, the faces of the people next to him looked a little unusual, and they could feel it. In addition to the other members of their mercenary group, if the Blood Wolf mercenary group can accept the mission, Elder Long Quan will definitely die. And such a practitioner. To know. When he said this, he attracted the attention of Malao Zhongfeng and Zhang Fulong next to him. Some people's faces also look a little different. Therefore, I want to kill Dragon Quan. In fact, even Malao Zhongfeng's face looked a little solemn. Elder Long Quan has been in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce for more than 10 years, and he must know a lot of things. If he is allowed to tell outsiders about the combat power of the Elder Group. If you want to kill him reliably, you need at least 3 5-stars in the Blue God realm, or 1 8-star in the Blue God realm. Zhang Fulong naturally cannot lie. Just now, he also made it clear that the Blood Wolf mercenary group will no longer accept missions. Think of this. Zhang Fulong couldn't help but said, besides, based on what they have done before, I think they may not be the best choice. Is there a possibility? In my impression, the Blood Wolf mercenary group is a very unreliable existence. If you want them to obey orders, you must not only have enough treasures, but also have enough strength.